Hello everyone, myself Neha Patel. I am a lecturer in Computer Engineering Department at VPMP Polytechnic, Gandhinagar. Today my session is about Procedure Oriented Paradigm and Object Oriented Paradigm from the Unit 1 Principles of Object Oriented Programming of the subject Programming in C++, Diploma 3rd semester in Computer Engineering. The objective of this session is, after learning these topics, student will be able to know the difference between procedure-oriented programming and object-oriented programming paradigms. Also, student will be know the applications of C++ programming. So, let's start with the introduction of the topic. We can say OOP stands for Object-Oriented Programming and POP stands for Procedure-Oriented Programming. Both are programming languages that use high-level programming to solve a problem but using different approaches. These approaches in technical terms are known as programming paradigms. So, a programmer can take different approach to write a program because there is no direct approach to solve a particular problem. This is where programming languages come to the picture. So, let's start with procedure-oriented paradigm. Conventional programming using high-level languages such as COBOL, Fortran and C is known as procedure-oriented programming. In this approach, problem is viewed as a sequence of things to be done, such as reading data from the user, calculating the data and display results. So, the number of functions are written to complete this task. We can say from this that a procedure-oriented paradigm consists a list of instructions and organize these instructions into groups known as functions. So, here we can see the structure of POP. In the figure left side we can see the global data 1 and global data 2. These two are the globally declared data in the program. Now we have three functions, function A, function B and function C. All these three functions are associated with their related local data. So, whenever function A wants to communicate with function B or function C, they communicate through global data. That means function A, function B and function C share global data 1 and global data 2. From the right side of the figure, we can see main program is having two functions, function 1 and function 2. Function 1 contains function 3 and function 4. That means it uses function 3 and function 4. Also, function 2 calls function 4 and function 6. Again, function 3 and function 6 calls function 7. So, we can say this is the flow of control of the program in procedure-oriented programming languages. So, let's discuss about the characteristics of POP. The first one is it emphasizes on doing things. Means POP concentrate on functions before data. The second one is large programs are divided into smaller programs which are known as functions. Third thing is data move openly around the system from function to function. From the previous figure, we have seen that global data is shared among different functions. So, we can say that data move openly around the system from function to function. The next thing is functions transform data from one form to another. Again, from previous figure, we can see that global data can be changed by any of the function which they are shared. The next thing is all the functions share global data. And the last one is it uses top-down approach in program. That means first define the function and then work on the data. So we can say the disadvantages of POP are to develop a large program, it is very difficult to identify what data is used by which function. And one more disadvantage, that it does not model real world problems very well. That means if we are going to develop a large system and we are going to make so many functions in a single system, then to manage data movement among these functions is very difficult. So we can say it is not good to use procedure-oriented programming to solve real-world problems. Now let's move to the object-oriented paradigm. OOP treats data as a critical element in the program development and does not allow it to flow freely around the system. It ties the data more closely to the functions that operate on it and protect it from accidental modification from outside functions. That means data which is declared inside within some function cannot be accidentally changed by function in which data is not declared or in which data is not accessible. The next thing is OOP allows decomposition of a problem into a number of entities called objects and then build data and functions around these objects. OOP decides which entities are going to take part in this system and then make their object, and then this object build data and functions around these objects. So we can say this is the organization of data and function in OOP. Here we can consider these three blocks as three different objects of a entity. First object is having their own copy of data, another object is having its own copy of data, and so on. If one object wants to communicate with other object, then they can communicate using functions. So data is directly not available to other objects. So let's discuss features of OOP. It emphasizes on data rather than procedure. That means it concentrates on data first and then make the functions regarding the data. The programs are divided into objects. In procedure-oriented programming, programs are divided into functions, but here programs are divided into objects. Data structures are designed such that they characterize the objects. Functions that operate on the data of an object are tightly tied together in the data structure. So the data becomes secure. One more thing, that is data is hidden and cannot be accessed by external function. So it provides data security by data hiding. One more characteristic, that is objects may communicate with each other through functions, as we have discussed in previous figure. All the three objects are communicating with each other using their own functions. And the last one, new data and functions can be easily added whenever necessary. As we are making a data structure which include data and functions together, so it is easy to add new data and new functions in the data structure. Also, one more important feature of OOP is it is a bottom-up approach. Bottom-up means it first concentrates on data and then it makes the function to operate on that data. That's why it is known as bottom-up approach of programming. So let's see the comparison between POP and OOP. In this block diagram, left side panel shows the flow of program in procedural languages, and the right side shows flow of program in the object-oriented languages. See, in procedural languages, procedure 1 operates on some parameters, and those parameters are passed on to procedure 2. Again, procedure 2 operates on then that parameters, and they will be transferred to procedure 3. So, we can say that the data is passed between procedures in this way. Here, at the right side, in object-oriented languages, we have different objects. They are having their own attributes and their own operations. Attributes are considered as data and operations are considered as functions. So, whenever one object wants to communicate with another object, they interact using their operations or using their functions. So, here object encapsulates data and code. Code means function. Now let's discuss about some of the applications of object-oriented programming. So, the first application is real-time systems. We can build real-time systems using object-oriented programming like C++. So, what is real-time system? Any application that monitors static or dynamic behavior of system continuously with respect to time is called real-time system. For example, traffic control system or process control based applications in industries. The second one is simulation and modeling. This is one more area where we can use C++ or other object-oriented languages. So what is simulation and modeling? Simulation and modeling is the use of physical or logical representation of a given system to generate data and help determine decisions or make predictions about that system. Then the next one is object-oriented databases. The way we create object-oriented programming, same way we can have object-oriented databases. In the area of databases, we can use object-oriented paradigm. Then the next one is artificial intelligence and expert systems. What is artificial intelligence? It is an expert system in a computer that emulate the decision-making ability of a human expert. Expert systems are designed to solve complex problems by reasoning through bodies of knowledge represented mainly as the rules rather than through conventional procedural codes. We can say in this we have rule-based programming. Then the next one is neural networks and parallel programming. What is neural network? It is a collection of interconnected neurons that compute and generate impulses. Components of a neural network include neurons, synapses, and activation functions. Neural networks modeled by mathematical or computer models are referred to as artificial neural networks. And what is parallel programming? Parallel programming is to use different systems to run a large program parallelly. Then the next application area is CIM, CAM or CAD systems. So CAD or CAM systems are called computer aided design or computer integrated manufacturing systems. Then the next one is web technologies. Web technologies are like Python, Ruby, Scala are called object-oriented web technologies. Hope this session is useful to all of you. Thank you.